Selwyn, thank you very much. And we're going to start this today. Let me see if I have this right. So, our seminars are pretty brief. The idea is we want to show you a couple of items. Hopefully, they're going to be important to you. You know, a lot of people know safety technology, STI. I always like to repeat what they do is they design and manufacture protective covers, cages, point alarms, personalized buttons. And they do that for two reasons. Reason one, because equipment is subject to damage. All equipment? No, not at all. But some equipment. And you need a nice aesthetic solution, strong solution to do that. And number two, they make this to help you sell more on each sales call. You know, it's harder to get appointments now because of COVID. So when you're there, you want to sell as much as possible. Makes sense. So our information is typically linked very closely to sales. Hopefully, it's going to be stuff that can help you. So if you're in the fire business, you've probably heard of the Stopper 2. This is how the company started a long time ago. And you can see the list of some of the features there. The fact that it's interior, exterior, the fact that it comes with or without a siren. Now, I always like to mention something about this. People will often say, you know, Walter, I look at the price of a pull station. I look at the price of your cover to protect the pull station. And it's a little bit more. I said, no, we're not protecting the pull station. We're stopping a false alarm. And that's an expensive venture. And that's something that all you have to do is ask the customer or suggest, you know what, I'd like to avoid any possibility of false alarm. And I do that with STI equipment. So the models you're looking at are the original ones, the 1000 series. It's there on the slide. But now I often advise people to take a look at the 13,000 series because it's low profile. It comes in interior, exterior. Of course, it comes with the message again, or the 14,000 series. And in that one, not only is it audio when you lift it, but it's visual, so it flashes. Why? Because we want to stop somebody from doing that false alarm. You know, we have configurators online. I often advise people to take a look at that because you just click 5 times making choices and it'll give you the exact model number you need. So think about that. If you want those links, we'll get them to you. You know, if you chat your email or I'll get it over to Full Protection. They'll send it out to you. Okay, universal stopper. Basically the same idea, but it's for other equipment and in other colors. Red is always typically fire, but sometimes you want something that's different. By the way, why the colors? It's the first thing that people remember. So when you're looking for a button to shut off HVAC, a motor, a fuel pump, well, you want to remember where that was. You can get regular messages because we have a standard library or personalized message. And minimum order for that, 1 piece. And that's really nice. It makes for a real personable solution that hopefully it's easier to sell for you. But here's a place where you need to ask that customer, any equipment subject to damage, vandalism, accidental activation? We want to stop that. That's why we use these universal stoppers. And by the way, before when I mentioned the 14,000 and 13,000 series, that's what the universals are. Once again, going back to the fire business, if that's where you're in, every now and then there's horns, sirens, you know, audio visuals that are in environments, how should I put it, dangerous? I mean, could be schools, could be prisons, kind of like the same thing, right? And we want to avoid that one of those devices gets knocked out. Because when it does, now your system doesn't work, you have a fault, you have to send a bunch of technicians, and the guy at the facility usually knows where there's a risk. You know, it could be in the warehouse. You know, people are not playing delicate in warehouses. So these cages, and it could be a cage in the case of audio, you know, you want that sound to get through. If it's just visual, then yeah, I can cover the whole thing and not let anything in. But once it's sound, I need to have some way to get that sound out. Okay, where am I here? Good. Wire cages for smoke detectors. Same idea, but we're protecting something else. Doesn't matter. Low profile, high profile. I have it in polycarbonate. I have it in a wire cage. I have it in stainless steel. We talk about maximizing that sale as you're walking through. Maybe you're selling CCTV. I don't know. But they have extinguishers. And it's important to track those extinguishers. Why? Number one, you want them to be where they're supposed to be in the case of an alarm. And number two, depending the country you're in, sometimes the people in safety and security come around, they inspect, and you get a fine if your extinguisher is not there. Here's a nice, simple device. Operates on a 9-volt battery, goes right next to the extinguisher, ties a little chain. You can see that cable around it. And when somebody takes that extinguisher, which they can, the siren goes off, 105 decibels, blinks, so people are made aware that somebody's taking that fire extinguisher. Hey, if it was my place of business, I'd like to know. What else? Same idea, but a different application. Actually, it's the same housing, but what this is for is emergency exit alarms. Now, I know I've seen them myself where there's an emergency exit. Usually we have to put that in by law. It just makes sense. You have one exit entrance in a building. Well, how's everybody going to get out in case of an emergency? The bad news is it's hard to control traffic. Sometimes what people do is they'll put a chain around it and a padlock. Now, who has the key? I don't know. And how long does it take them to get and open this lock? So it's no longer not a real emergency exit. This device installs easily right on the door. It comes with a magnet because there's a switch inside. Magnet goes on the frame. 9-volt battery, turn it on. Anybody goes out that door, 105 decibels, and visual, blinks. It's a nice way to provide a deterrent so people can comply with the law, have an emergency exit, but by the same token, control that traffic. And it's an upsell. It's giving you the opportunity to sell something more while you're on a sales visit. Fire alarm button, just a different application. You're probably familiar with pull stations. Here's another option. It is UL. You can use it with your fire system if that works for you. Oh, let's go back to this. I love mentioning this to people. If we're not in the sprinkler business, maybe you are, I don't know. But for the folks that are not in the sprinkler business, they don't understand that sometimes those sprinklers leak. Sometimes somebody hits it, and when they hit it, there's a ton of water that comes out of that sprinkler. So the sprinkler is there to throw water on a fire so fire doesn't do the damage. But now you have all that water. That's causing the damage. So in a case like that, wouldn't it be good to have a tool that you could just go up to that sprinkler head, clip it on, stop the flow of water? I mean, nowadays what they have to do is they have to turn off the whole fire system of sprinklers to get to that water. And since it works on gravity, it's still got to drain all that water. So here's an opportunity. If you see sprinklers saying, hey, there's a tool that you might want to have one or two, maybe more of these around the facility. So if something happens, people can quickly grab it, put it on, stop the flow of water, call the sprinkler company. Global reset, you probably have seen the smaller European versions of pull stations. They're reset buttons is what they are. But some of the things we found, the engineers, the designers over at STI said, let's change this up a little bit. Number one, let's make it larger. Makes good sense. Number two, let's give it different ways of mounting. I mean, you can mount this on single gang, double gang, the Euro boxes, those smaller ones. It's got your Form C contact, double pull, double throw. It acts like a break glass. However, there's no glass to break. It just acts that way. It simulates that. There's some people that like that. So here you have an option. Once again, this, like so many other things that STI offers, we have a configurator, so you can choose the models you need or the features on a model that you want. The more I give presentations for STI, the more I hear somebody say, oh, I didn't know STI did that. Everybody thinks we're just the stopper, but there's a lot of different add-ons that you have in your tool belt, so to speak, to offer to people. And those are some of the things I want to talk about now, because sometimes we do forget them. One of them, and this, of course, is one of the focuses of today's webinar, are Nema 4X cabinets made either out of polycarbonate or fiberglass. You know, there are harsh environments, whether it's salt air, you know, if you're on an island, if you're near the water, that basically will just take that metal and rust it to pieces pretty quickly. And any electronics inside, forget about it, they're gone. Now you have the option of something like polycarbonate or fiberglass, resistant to that, resistant to chemical agents, to different atmospheres that might be corrosive. There's a variety of different sizes. And as you can see from this picture, you have an option of tinted door in case you want to see what's happening inside. Maybe there's LEDs that you need to be aware of, and you don't want to have to open it up each time. Or a clear door, or an opaque door. So both of these composites, the fiberglass and the polycarbonate, are excellent for any wireless equipment you want to put in. You can't put that in metal. I'm not going to be able to transmit. Polycarbonate, the signal will get through. So good way, especially if you're hanging cameras outdoors, if you're doing a city surveillance, smart city, think of this. So great. Now I've presented, 10 sizes of fiberglass, 13 sizes of polycarbonate. Super. But that's just where it begins, because that's a box. What I always like to recommend to people is, okay, how are we going to mount our equipment? Like a back plate is really important. That way you can mount your equipment in an orderly fashion. So anytime you have to work on it, you open that door, everything's nice and neat for you. Yeah, you can see your connections, you can see your LEDs. Maybe you need some ventilation. Obviously when you have ventilation fans or just louvers, you're going to lose that IP65. However, you don't always need IP65. Pole mounts, thermostats, even air conditioning. We have all those accessories so that you go to one place, you get everything you need to put your electronic equipment in. Okay, where am I over here? Here I go. We also have another line of cabinets, and these are the IP54s. Sometimes you don't need IP65. If you don't need it, then why pay for it? So just to give you an idea what that 54 stands for, there is a chart. You can see it on online. And the 5 happens to talk about you have protected from limited dust ingress. Is it 100%? No, but it keeps most of it out. That's what the 5 stands for. The 4 stands for this equipment can take a direct spray of water in any direction and keep that water out. Many times that's all you need. And of course, there's going to be a price savings on that one. Here's a place when, if you are looking for that, the folks over at Full Protection can help. Of course, I'm more than happy to help define the model that you might need for that. We do have configurators online to help you just step by step go through that and get what you need. I like to show this to folks because many times you're going to put a fire panel in a place. You need to visualize that fire panel, but it could be anything. Why? Because if there's an alarm, you need to see those LEDs, right? So here is our mega cabinet. That's what I like to call it. And as you can see, this is 48 inches high, 36 wide, and 12 inches deep. So if you need to keep equipment from the elements, from tampering, from vandalism, and so forth, here's an excellent solution. So you have a polycarbonate window, very strong. You have the fiberglass cabinet, resistant to agents and chemicals and so forth. But there's an idea where you need to kind of suggest that to the customer. He doesn't always know. He thinks, hey, you're giving me something in a metal cabinet, it's going to be fine. Not in your environment, Mr. Customer. You may need something more. Buttons. And, STI started with buttons a long time ago. They have a different selection, and there's configurators online to make your choices. One of the ones in particular I like to talk about is this. So here's something you can get in different languages. I have standard messages. I can do personalized messages. Comes in 6 different colors. And when you go into that configurator, that's what I call it. And you know what? Maybe we'll bounce out of this for a second and take a look at that configurator, just so you see how easy it is. Let's see how well I can do that. Probably not so well, Walter, right? No, I don't think so. Let's see. Nope, and nope. No, guess what? We're not going to do that just yet. We're going to do that later. But we'll get you some links where you can just click through it so you have an idea what you're ordering. I mean, what are you going to order? The color, the message, the type of activation of the button, and essentially there's 4. What is it? It's going to be momentary. It's going to be latching, where all you have to do is turn it to reset it. It's going to be latching, where you use a key to reset it if you want more control over that button, or management does. And lastly, pneumatic. Specialized application, but pneumatic buttons are kind of cool. Why? Because they have a timer that is not dependent upon electricity. So you set that timer and it's built into the button. Next, where are we? So I did mention these before, that break glass style. Some people just really like that. You press it in, nothing breaks, but a little flag appears letting you know it's a latching button. There are no momentaries here. Somebody does have to reset it. And you have your choice of messages or icons just to give people an idea, whether it's an emergency exit, HVAC shutdown, and the list goes out. So, it's not a matter of just saying, hey, I have a button. There's different buttons because your customer may have certain tastes that we want to help them with. No-touch buttons. And I really like what they did with these new no-touch buttons. These happen to be the stainless steel ones. And it's not just stainless steel. It's a food grade, a medical grade stainless steel. And in order to activate it, you do not need to touch it. You just wave your hand about 5 inches or less in front of that button, and the relay energizes. That relay is adjustable, anywhere from a half a second up to 20 seconds, depending what you need. There are different styles, whether it's that larger one, that 3-gang one you're looking at, or the mullion, which I happen to think, depending how door frames are in your country, is an awesome solution. Many times I'll see a 2x4 single gang box mounted on a door frame, and it's kind of sticking off halfway, which I think it looks ugly. There, with the mullion style, that thin one, that slips right into that door frame, and it looks a lot nicer. It's a very professional appearance. You can get it with words. You can get it in different languages. Right now, I think it's just English and Spanish. And I believe they have it in French as well. Or it could be icons, as you see, that lower left guy going out of a door. So it lets people know, whatever language they speak, oh, this is for going out the door. What else do we have here? Interesting. Oh, medical cabinets. We are so much in thinking about about security that we don't realize there's everyday items that should be at arm's reach. Okay, because when there's an emergency, I don't want to find the boss who has the key to the cabinet where I stored something. I need access right now, whether it's a first aid kit, whether it's a defibrillator, blankets, who knows, whatever might your customer might find. And here's a way where you have a box that's big enough, we can see it, so people are aware that this equipment is available to them. You have the option of putting on an alarm. We're going to talk more about that, but you can see it on that blue one. There's an alarm. It's a strobe alarm, 105 decibels, runs off a 9-volt battery. So very easily you can mount this equipment near the machinery or near the lunchroom or wherever you need it. But only if you mention it to the customer, because he's not going to think that you have this to offer. So as you're walking through on that sales call, remember what I said. We're here to help you maximize that sale. And why shouldn't you make the sale as opposed to the next guy? You know, I all of a sudden I'm listening to myself going on and on and on about product. How are you doing over there? Questions, comments? Okay, sounds good. Everything is still good. Love to hear it. So one of the things that they saw in the market was it lacked a nice siren strobe combo. And we have two of them here. The one above has a certain aesthetic look to it. I should mention it's IP54. That's an indoor horn strobe. You can add it to your systems. It works off of 12 or 24 volts. My preference for the price happens to be the round one. Why? Number one, IP66. So you can put this indoor, outdoor. Now, it will work off of 12 volt. It'll work off of 24 volt. I should mention that the strobe has an independent timer from the siren. Could be siren only. It could be strobe only. One could shut off after a minute as it continues to flash. There's 32 different tones. Is that important? Once again, they might want to distinguish it. Not everything is a fire alarm. So when you hear this special tone, it means coffee break. I don't know, something. Different colors. Once again, you don't always need everything in red, but people do tend to like that. What I really like about this strobe horn is that it'll operate off a 9-volt battery. And it has an input. You can connect this to one of our buttons. Somebody comes along, there's an emergency, boom, he hits that button, and you've just set off your siren and the strobe. And those timers now go to work. It's true. Would you have to change that once a year? Probably, that 9-volt battery. But what a nice, quick, easy solution and a cost-effective one to offer to people. They just might have a simple door over there that they want to control. You could hook magnetic switch up to it, a button up to anything that you want, but that's kind of creative. And the idea, again, maximize that sale. What else might be helpful for the customer? Hey, listen, we don't want him to buy stuff he doesn't need, but if he does need it, we want to be the people to offer it. Wire cages, I mentioned them before for the horn strobes and things like that, but you may have a special application. I've run into people, they want to protect a camera, a clock, an exit sign, and they go out and they have something manufactured. This is 9-gauge wire. I can stand on it. We can park a car on it, and it stands up to that. So it's very strong. They coat it with a polyester, so it's elegant. It looks nice. So you don't have this rusty stain going down the side of the wall, after a couple of months. So think about that. As I said, we do have many. And that's it. STI. So great. I thank you very much for your attention today.